The time has come to review the film where justice has a new face, and that face is the merc with a mouth.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
Hey everyone, Lucimus Prime here. So it's time for another movie review today in my series of reviews for the X-Men movies, and this review is going to be for another one of the X-Men spin-off movies. And out of the spin-off, this will probably my second favourite out of the spin-offs. And this is also one of my favourite comic book movies of all time, which is directed by Tim Miller. And this film, which I'm going to be reviewing, is none other than 2016's Deadpool. So, now, how was this film made then? So, development of this film first began in February 2004, pretty much 12 years before this film was released. And Ryan Reynolds was also attached to play the character. And he, of course, was going to first play the character in the film X-Men Origins Wolverine, or I'd say it's Deadpool in name only, because whatever the hell that was at the end of that film was certainly not Deadpool in my opinion at all. And then after that, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick were hired to write a spin-off in 2010, and they worked with Ryan Reynolds to adapt the character more faithfully, after, of course, the portrait of X-Men Wolverine was criticised, and rightfully so. And then Tim Miller was hired to direct in 2011, and it's pretty cool, of course, of Ryan Reynolds casting the role, because the comics actually foreshadowed he played Deadpool, because in a comic from 2004, Deadpool actually described himself as looking like Ryan Reynolds crossed with a Shar-Pei dog, so yeah, foreshadowing right there. And of course, in between the release of Origins Wolverine and, of course, this movie, Days of Future Past, of course, rebooted the X-Men timeline. So by doing that, of course, it allowed this film's timeline to exist, basically. So I've got to thank Days of Future Past, of course, for rebooting the timeline, erasing Origins Wolverine from existence, and allowing this film to exist in a new timeline. So I really appreciated that. And then after that, there was also an enthusiastic response to leaked test footage created with Ryan Reynolds from Tim Miller, which led to a green light from Fox in 2014. Additional casting then also happened in early 2015, and filming took place in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada from March to May of 2015. And several vendors provided visual effects for the film, ranging from the addition of blood and gore to the creation of a CGI character, Colossus, who was not played, of course, from an actor being Daniel Cudmore prior to his role. This time the character was CGI, and of course was also massive too as well. The film premiered at the Le Grand Rex in Paris on February 8th, 2016, and was released in the United States on February 12th after an unconventional marketing campaign. The film achieved both financial and critical success, and it earned $782.8 million against a $58 million budget, becoming the 9th highest grossing film of 2016 and breaking numerous records, including the highest grossing film in the X-Men series and the highest grossing R-rated film at the time, surpassing The Matrix Reloaded. And critics also praised Ryan Reynolds' performance, the film's style, and faithfulness to the comics, along with its action sequences, though some criticised the plot as formulaic and were divided on the film's adult humour. It also received many awards and nominations, including 2 Critics' Choice Awards and 2 Golden Globe nominations. When it comes to my reaction to this film then, so when this film came out in February 2016, I unfortunately couldn't see it at the cinema because I was really busy doing my exams in my final year of secondary school, so I didn't have time to go to the cinema, sadly. But, however, when I was on holiday in Benidorm that year in the summer, the resort that I stayed at actually had a mini cinema, and one of the films it actually played was Deadpool. So I thought, you know what, let's see what I missed, shall we? So I went in to watch the movie, and I've got to say that I absolutely loved this film. I had an absolute blast watching this. I thought it was just, in my opinion, one of the best comic book films of all time. One of my all-time favourites. I just loved every second of this movie. Just amazing. And I've rewatched it many times, such as on streaming services, for example. And of course, I also have it on here as a Blu-ray Steelbook as well. I definitely love the film to this day, especially from last night's rewatch. I love the film to this day. So, now what is this film about then? So, in this film, Wade Wilson hunts the man who gave him mutant abilities and a scarred physical appearance, which of course makes him become the anti-hero, Deadpool. So, now when it comes to what I think is great about this film then, so I think it has a great cast of actors. So, obviously, in my opinion, the number one best part of this film is Ryan Reynolds himself as Deadpool. And I gotta say that this film is just how you redeem a character after a negative portrayal from before, because I, of course, absolutely hate how Deadpool was portrayed in Audience Wolverine. In my opinion, that's just Deadpool in name only over, of course, a knockoff of Baraka from Mortal Kombat. But in this film, wow. Like, Ryan Reynolds absolutely nailed it as the character, and I think he portrayed him so perfectly. Definitely, in my opinion, a perfect casting for a role. He absolutely nailed it, and he had lots of hilarious moments which made me laugh my head off so many times in this film. And they also nailed Deadpool's fourth wall breaking as well, which of course is what the character is well known for. And I also personally didn't mind the adult humour in this because like Deadpool as a character is not for kids, so of course there's going to be adult humour. Of course there's going to be that. So I personally wasn't bothered by that at all. I personally found the humour really funny in this film. And Ryan Reynolds just absolutely nailed it. And I definitely regard Deadpool as one of his best roles of all time. Absolutely. Definitely a much better comic book portrayal of his compared to, of course, Baraka for X-Men Wolverine. And I guess also as well compared to Green Lantern as well. Because Ryan Reynolds himself even hates the Green Lantern movie. And of course, Auden Holdings Wolverine portrayed Deadpool, of course. And I don't blame him. But yeah, he absolutely nailed it as Deadpool. And it's definitely, in my opinion, his best comic book role that I've seen. I did also love the casting of Marina Baccarin as Vanessa, who is, of course, Wade Wilson's fiancée. Definitely my favourite role of Marina. She's a great actress and definitely did a brilliant job playing Vanessa. And she's definitely a very likeable character, and she had really good chemistry with Wade as well, absolutely. And I definitely really like their scenes together. They were definitely really good. And in addition to that, when it comes as well to a film's villain, I did also as well like the casting of Ed Skrein as the villain, who is called Ajax, or Francis Freeman. I think he did a very good job playing him, and of course, he's of course the mutant leader of the program that creates Deadpool. And I think he did a brilliant job playing him. And I know that many would regard him as a one-dimensional villain, but the thing is, that's the joke, because the film intentionally makes him that as a joke. So I personally found it really funny how he's portrayed that way, really. So it didn't bother me that he was one-dimensional, because that's the point. It's supposed to be a joke. So I personally found it funny. And I also definitely really love the casting of my favourite actress of all time, Gina Carano, as Angel Dust, who's of course a mutant as part of the program that creates Deadpool. And as a fun fact, guys, this was also a film that introduced me to her as an actress, and I definitely regard Angel Dust as one of her best roles of all time. Probably my third favourite role of hers behind Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, and also as well Hattie McCaster in her recent film Terror on the Prairie. I definitely think she did a great job playing Angel Dust. And her character was definitely, in my opinion, really cool to watch, especially because she's really strong, and she does a pretty cool jump as well, which was really nice. Because what I will say is, despite this film's focus on comedy, it does have its fair share of great action scenes, I must say, really. And I also definitely have a casting of Brianna Hildebrand as Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I thought she was good in this, in my opinion, pretty funny, I must say, at times. And when it comes to Colossus, I definitely really loved how this film handled Colossus compared to the X-Men trilogy, because one of my issues with the trilogy is not only just because I hardly pay in that trilogy, but I personally didn't like how he was just a regular size of a human and not, of course, massive like he's supposed to be in the comics. So I really appreciated that this film made him massive. And of course, he's a CGI character who is voiced by Stefan Kapasik. And I think Stefan did a great job playing Colossus, probably my favourite role of his. And I think he was brilliant in the role as Colossus, and definitely, in my opinion, really funny and entertaining. I mean, no offence to Daniel Cumberland, who played him in the trilogy and Days of Future Past, but I personally wasn't really a fan of how Colossus was handled in the trilogy. I think in this film and the sequel, Colossus was handled much better, in my opinion. When it comes to other supporting characters, I did also love the casting as well of Leslie Uggams as Blind Al, who of course is Deadpool's roommate. She was definitely, in my opinion, really funny. Love her addition. And also Karen Sony as the taxi driver Dorpinder. Like, Dorpinder is so funny in these films, which is pretty cool. And when it comes as well to cameos in this film, I love how we got a cameo appearance by Deadpool's creator Rob Liefeld, who appears as Bob, an agent of Hydra, which was pretty cool. And I also, as well, love how he got a cameo appearance by the absolute legend, the one and only Stan Lee, in this film, who appears, of course, at the club, talking on a microphone. So, I definitely love how Stan Lee got to a cameo in a Deadpool movie. I was happy about that. And, of course, may Stan rest in peace. Thank you so much for all of your iconic creations, Stan, and for inspiring billions of people around the world. Thank you, Stan. Rest in peace. And there's also cameos in terms of, like, execution, which in my opinion were done really well without an actor being there. And that's probably Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, because there's a very funny scene in this where, of course, when Vanessa unmasks Deadpool to show Wade's scarred face, he's wearing a mask of Hugh Jackman, which I definitely thought was really funny. And of course, a nice joke about of course, Deadpool and Wolverine's rivalry, which I thought was handled really well in my opinion. And as well as this great cast of actors as well, I did also, as well, really love the humour in this film. Like, this film is jam-packed with lots of funny moments which have me dying of laughter every time I rewatch it. Because no matter how many times I watch this film, I always laugh at the same things every single time. Like, the film is just so hilarious in my opinion from start to finish. Like, if you guys want a great comedy film, I'd recommend this film strongly. In addition as well, despite this film being a comedy film as well, I think it also handles the action really well because it has lots of really cool action scenes. I also really appreciate the film, of course, did not hold back on the blood and gore because, like I said, Deadpool is not for kids. So, I really appreciated, of course, that this film had lots of violent moments because it's not supposed to be a kids' movie, no. And I, of course, appreciate it was rated R in America because that's, of course, what Deadpool's supposed to be. And also, as well, the visual effects are also amazing as well. I've already talked about Colossus. He's, of course, CGI in this film, and I thought his CGI was very impressive. And the visual effects are also brilliant too as well, in my opinion, and great to watch. In addition to that, I also as well love the musical score composed by Tom Hawkenborg or Junkie XL. In my opinion, he's the most underrated composer of all time, and I think his soundtrack in this film was amazing, great to listen to. He's an amazing composer. I love his music, and this music in this film was definitely great to listen to. And in addition to that as well, when it comes as well to how good this film is, I think it also is very well paced too, because this film is 108 minutes, and in my opinion, it's paced really well. It does not feel like it's about runtime at all, because in my opinion, it's really well paced. It does not feel too short or too long, and it never gets boring at all because it's so funny, and it has lots of good action moments too, and lots of really good fight scenes too as well. Because I think this film blends together both action and comedy really well, in my opinion. Like, it reminds me a lot of the film Hot Fuzz a little bit, because it blends comedy and action really well. I think it does a great job at it. And when it, of course, handles sad moments, such as, for example, Wade finding out he's got cancer, that's definitely, in my opinion, executed really well for a comedy film, really. I think they did a great job of it. I think this film, of course, handles humour much better than today's Marvel, in my opinion, absolutely. So, I really appreciated that this film handled the comedy so well compared to what we get today, in my opinion. I really appreciated that. So, yeah, I love the film to this day. It's always an absolute pleasure to rewatch from start to finish, and it's always so much fun. However, if I was to think of any bad qualities with this film, then so there is maybe a couple of reasons why it's not my favourite out of the X-Men films of all time by any means, but I still think it's a phenomenal film, because there is one cast member in this film who I absolutely despise and I cannot bear looking at because I personally find him an absolute disgrace. And that's the actor TJ Miller, who has no respect for me nowadays at all. I think he's an absolute douchebag. And I just find his scenes as a character Weasel hard to watch in the two films he's in as a character. I just can't stand him. So, all I can say is, screw TJ Miller all the way. I can't stand him. And there's also, as well, a case of reusing shots too, because the film does reuse a shot of the Blackbird as well from X-Men The Last Stand, which is probably due to low budget, unfortunately. And also, as well, when it comes as well to a character Copycat, in this film, she's not accurate to how she's in the comics, because in this film, she has no superpowers, when in the comics she does. And while I did also like Bryna Hildebrand as Degasonic Teenage Warhead, I personally didn't really like how she was also not accurate either, because in the comics she has a different appearance to how she appears in this, and now also she has different powers too, so yeah, she's very different in the comics to how she is in this film. But nonetheless, I can let those few bad qualities slide because I still love the film to this day, and for me it's an absolute masterpiece, one of the best comic book films of all time. I love this film from start to finish. So, I also appreciate it a lot for helping save Ryan Reynolds' career as well, because he went through a bit of a tough time, of course, with a dreadful X-Men Wolverine movie, but unfortunately 2 years later, of course, he suffered also with Green Lantern, which he, of course, is known for hating. I don't blame him for hating it in the slightest. And he also made a joke about this, of course, in the sequel. And in this film, there's even a funny quote where he's asking not to make his suit green or animated, which makes sense. Of course, I don't blame him for saying that joke in the film. And there's even as well a part where a picture of his Green Lantern comes out of a wallet in the opening sequence, which is also hilarious too, because of those funny quotes which appeared in the titles, which were pretty funny, I must say. But nonetheless, I still love the film to this day, and if I was to give the film a score out of 10, well, because it's one of the favorite comic book films of all time that I've seen. I'll definitely give this film a full-blown 10 out of 10. I love this film very much. So, soon I'll definitely review a sequel, but first what I'll be reviewing the other X-Men films that I've got left to do. And I definitely think the sequel is really good. Not as good as the first one in my opinion, but still in my opinion a really good sequel nonetheless. And I'm looking forward to rewatching that. So guys, this is me, of course, doing my review for 2016's Deadpool. So, you know the drill, guys. Be sure to give this video a like. Also, be sure to vote in the comments what you guys think of Deadpool, or what in the comments below, what do you think? Also, be sure to join Team Power by pressing subscribe and views come in the future, and I'll see you all later.